Hi everybody, welcome to Embracing Aging. Today I want to talk about Alzheimer's. I've been meaning to talk about it for some time and haven't got around to it, but I don't have any medical expertise. And the same with anything I talk about on my channel. I don't have any particular expertise. All I'm doing is telling you about my own experiences and what I've discovered and what works for me. With regard to Alzheimer's, both of my in-laws and my stepmother had Alzheimer's before they died. So I have I have some experience of dealing with it. And what kind of worked for me, I will tell you about later on. But dementia is kind of an overarching term that covers, it covers all sorts of cognitive decline, including Alzheimer's. There are other forms of dementia, and some of them affect younger people. Not all of them are age-related. In my playlist, I've got a playlist called Dementia, and there's some videos in there from Lisa Marshall, whose husband, Peter, was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's when he was 53. And she's written a blog and a book called Oh Hello Alzheimer's. And it follows the story and the progression of his illness until he passed away. A very quite quick progress. Some of the things very moving. There was one video where he called Lisa to mirror because he'd met a new friend, and it was him. He saw himself in the mirror, but he thought it was somebody else, and he was talking to him as though he was a friend. Also, he'd forgotten they were married, and he asked her to marry him again, which was really moving and beautiful. So that video is in the playlist as well. But I just wanted to talk about it because there is no cure for it, sadly, and it is often age-related. So, and we see it in our, elder, parents, aging parents, who develop like memory loss and things like that. Doesn't mean they've got Alzheimer's. Some of the things that can cause confusion, I've found out through experience, is if they have a UTI or an infection of some sort, it can cause confusion. So it's best to get that checked out because, a quick course of antibiotics and they're sorted. So it isn't always Alzheimer's. They don't really know what causes it. I know they say keep your brain active and what have you, but there are people like, people who've been in positions of power, running the country and things like that who have developed Alzheimer's. So, I don't think that necessarily keeping your brain active, just personal opinion, helps if you're going to get Alzheimer's. I don't know what the cause is. And, apart from trying to eat healthy and the usual things, not drinking to excess, keeping busy, keeping active. I don't know what we can do to protect ourselves against it, to be honest. If you know, put it in the comments. Yeah, there are treatments, however, that can kind of keep the disease at bay, or slow the progress of it. And I have seen that. Also, a relative of someone quite close to me has had Alzheimer's for probably about 3 years now, and she said that the progression hasn't been as quick as it was with my in-laws or my stepmother. So, but I think she was diagnosed fairly early, and she's had the support and taking the medication and everything, which has really helped massively. Yeah, the first thing that people notice with Alzheimer's is forgetfulness, asking you the same question time and time again. But I do that, and I don't think I've got Alzheimer's. Sometimes I forget, I'll forget that I've asked a question. I hope I'm not getting Alzheimer's. But yeah, also, one of the things I've noticed is kind of being disorientated in familiar surroundings. When you go to somewhere that you totally, you go to like every day or every week or something, and you forget your way, you just get lost. I think that's a big a big red flag for me was, yeah, when a family member was driving and they were going home, they turned the wrong way and they got totally lost, totally disorientated in a very familiar area. So things like that, they're red flags, but um, I think it's something we always worry about, if we forget something or we say something like odd. And again, when I get a migraine, I get confused when I've got a migraine. I get really, it changes my, I get really stroppy and I get very withdrawn and I get forgetful and I do get confused when I've got a migraine. I don't know. I don't know. It may be that I'm a candidate for vascular dementia in the future. I hope not, but who knows? Anyway, the other thing I wanted to say was also vitamin B12 has been found to be to help people with cognitive decline. So I don't think it would hurt. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so take this under advisement. But I think it wouldn't. It wouldn't hurt, I don't think, to take a vitamin B12 supplement. They sell it, you can buy it over the counter. I don't think it will do any harm unless you take massive overdose of it. So maybe give that a try. But one of the things that worked for me with dealing with dementia, and uh, this is kind of getting into their world. Like my stepmother became like, she'd be talking absolute rubbish. And my mother-in-law, in fact. My mother-in-law used to say the neighbours had stolen her false teeth. And, the way I found that placates them and helps them to be less stressful is to kind of get into their world and say, I would say to her, oh, I say, not again, because this happened on a regular basis. The neighbours would steal her false teeth. And I would say, you know what, I'm going to call the police. I'll phone the police and they come around and, sort it out. And then we would find them and, she would have forgotten all about it by then. But I'm kind of getting into their world, if don't argue with them. It's pointless arguing with them. My dad used to do it with my stepmother. She would say that, there's that her dad, who was long gone, was going to meet them and take them out for a meal or something. And my dad would say, you silly woman, he's dead, been dead for 10 years or whatever. And he would get annoyed because she would come out with these things and he couldn't handle it. But, if you kind of just acknowledge that and say, we better get ready then. And then, like just distract them, just, yeah, get into their world and basically just agree with them. Obviously not when it comes to the personal safety. If they want to go like, skydiving or riding a motorbike, you're gonna have to distract them from doing that. Say maybe we can go hire one. We're going to have a look tomorrow or something. By which time they will have forgotten about it. But I have got some things that I've kind of written down here. I'm going to refer to my notes here about the things that help with dealing with people with Alzheimer's, because it's very wearing. I saw it with my dad, who cared for my stepmom for about 3 years at home, and eventually it just got like it was dragging my dad down because he was constantly having to repeat himself, constantly having to care for her and do things for her, and it was really hard for him. So these are things that help a person with Alzheimer's, is having a consistent routine, because it helps them to, it just helps reduce their confusion and their anxiety. When you would change the routine or take them somewhere different, it was can be very distressing. Also communication, using simple, clear language and maintaining eye contact. And I would add to that, communication is also about like, not getting into an argument with them, because you're not going to win. And all it's going to do is stress you both out. Safety, which I mentioned earlier, is just ensure that the living environment is safe and remove any potential hazards. Like for instance, again, my stepmother decided she needed to iron the carpet. So she switched the iron on, she plugged it in, left it on the carpet and burnt a massive hole in the carpet. So things like, hazardous chemicals, sharp knives, things like that. You need to kind of just be aware of that. It's, I suppose, like having a child when make sure your kid isn't going to bump into sharp corners and things like that. You cover your electrical sockets, you cover them up and things like that. You need to be doing the same if you've got a parent or a close relative or a spouse with Alzheimer's. Got here engagement, sort of encourage activities that stimulate cognitive functions such as puzzles or music. I've got mixed feelings about that. It is advice, but sometimes it can be very frustrating. Again, I'm going to refer to my stepmother because she's the one who most recently passed away, and my most recent experience of dealing with Alzheimer's. If I would try and get her to do a jigsaw puzzle or something, even a simple one, like a children's one, and she couldn't do it, she would get frustrated and get angry. So I've got mixed feelings about that. But certainly communication and talking to them, and, talking to them on their level, the level they can understand. And the last thing I've got is support, which is about seeking support from healthcare professionals and support groups and respite care. And also, really important, I think, is recognising when it's too much. For my dad, he had a fall and he was in hospital for several weeks because he broke his hip and he had to have physio and what have you. I think it was about 89 when that happened. And my stepmother went into respite care, and she soon forgot about my dad, and it's pretty sad. But my dad couldn't wait to get home, care for her. They'd been married for 50 years. Now I'm going to get emotional, I'm sorry. But he'd looked after her. They'd been married for 50 years, and he felt it was his responsibility and his duty to care for her. So after he was discharged from hospital, he went home again. But they lived in an upstairs flat, and it was very difficult for my dad because of managing the stairs. He wasn't as mobile as he had been previously. And he quickly realised that he couldn't cope. So they looked at moving into accommodation that was on a ground floor level or had a lift. And there wasn't anything available, and my stepmother was becoming increasingly dependent and increasingly difficult to deal with because of things such as leaving the iron on the carpet and not taking a medication. She's also diabetic. My dad was struggling, so he thought that the best thing for them would be for her to go into a care home, but he would go with her. Now, the downside to that is she was cared for, and it took pressure off my dad. But the downside was my dad was in an environment where, although he was with my stepmother, he was surrounded with other people with similar, they'd got dementia of some sort, whether it was Alzheimer's or, other forms of dementia. And most of the people, I'd say probably 98% of them had got some sort of Alzheimer's. So, or some sort of dementia rather. So my dad he kind of withdrew. He got very depressed himself, and there was no one he could talk to really. We used to visit him obviously and take them out and do what we could, but it's very hard. And so I just wanted to talk about it a little bit, and about that acknowledging when you need help and making the right decisions, having people to help you with making that decision. If you have to think about putting somebody into a facility, a care facility for their own safety and for your physical and mental health as well, which is really important when you're dealing with somebody, a spouse with dementia. So yeah, long video this time, but it's a big subject, and it's something that, you know, possibly affects us more as we get older, because, you know, our parents, relatives, spouses, you know, brothers and sisters, um, friends, that, you know, anyone, you know, any older person is probably more likely to have Alzheimer's than a younger person. So yeah, if you've got any comments or anything that you've done, if you've got experience of dealing with people with Alzheimer's, please leave comments below, because, you know, other people will read your comments, and, you know, whatever, something you say might just be like, yeah, it might just trigger something, or it might just help somebody when they need it most. So yeah, I'll talk to you again soon. I hope this hasn't been too depressing. It's one of the reasons I didn't really want to talk about it. But you know what? Part of aging, isn't it? You know, we have got things like, you know, the aches and pains, and, you know, I mean, I'm still trying to embrace my age. I've got another birthday coming up real soon. But yeah, you know, you have to also be sensible and practical and think about, you know, like, I mean, I live in an apartment with stairs, so no lift. So, you know, I'm getting to the age now where I'm thinking maybe we should think about moving somewhere where we're on one level. Because I know how hard it was when I was doing my dad's shopping, you know, like I had to go down a flight of stairs just because of the position. He's like on a hillside, down a flight of stairs to the street where my dad lived, and then up a flight of stairs to his apartment. So yeah, things you need to think about as well, as you get older. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. I'm gonna go. Take care. Thank you to everybody who's listening, and to everybody who's liked and subscribed. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.